Blake.
I didn't play.
Blake. What in the world happened yesterday? I thought after Thursday night's game I'd have to bone up on my Missouri knowledge. That is not the case. A 4-1 loss in Game 5 of this series, which means Rapid City on Thursday night. A trip.
No, on Tuesday night.
On Tuesday night. What'd I say?
Thursday.
Thursday night. Thursday
Boy,
night.
now you're really jumping.
I know. Well, let's hope there isn't a game Thursday night, because that would be back here in Fort Wayne for Game 7. What do you think was the key yesterday? Because it was the Komets game 1-0 heading into the third period. They give up 3 goals and an empty netter to lose 4-1.
I felt like it felt like a regular season game. This didn't feel like a playoff game at all. I mean, there was just so little intensity from both sides. It's like Rapid City kind of sucked them in to play in their game, and they got away with it. And I give Rapid City credit for it, too. I mean, you know, it worked. It was like a typical Sunday regular season game.
You didn't feel the sense of urgency from the Komets?
I didn't feel it from either team.
Really? That seems odd because
I know.
Rapid City's got their backs against the wall.
That's the worst part about it, is that the Komets had Rapid City right where they wanted them. Down 1-0, had a power play. If they could have scored there, it's over.
Yeah, and
it's completely over.
And talking to the guys throughout the week, especially after Thursday, you're talking about, you know, they're excited because, oh man, we don't have to make that trip to Rapid City. We just got to win on Sunday, and it didn't happen.
And it didn't deserve to happen either. You know, I mean, Rapid City did what they had to do. They made some gritty plays in front, and they got Conrad Reeder going, who hadn't been going all series, and that face-off goal was disastrous. I mean,
and lightning quick too.
Oh man, that was awful. And it's like, hey Nick, guess who's got the puck right in front of you? Oh, okay. What are you supposed to do now? You know.
Well, I will say the past is the past, so all we can focus on is the future.
Except we're still under review.
Well, talk about that situation, because Vascovo possibly might be missing a game here. Is what you think?
We don't know. I mean, all we know is at this time, as we're taping it at 3:30 on Monday, is that the league is reviewing a couple of incidents on request from both teams. My guess is, and I don't know for sure because they're not saying, is they're looking at Mike Vascovu high-sticking Colin Cercelli in the first period, and they're looking at Les Rainey hitting Leo Thomas from behind in the second. I mean, but those are guesses. I mean, nobody's saying anything. They may or may not be suspended. We don't know. If I had to guess, I would say if they're looking at Vascovu, he's going to get suspended. That's 2 high-sticking things in 2 consecutive games. The first one, they didn't get anything. You know, you got to wonder.
Yeah, and this has been a series
but that's
where
a total guess.
It seems like there have been a lot of reviews because Henley was out for Game 5. And you really look at it, Henley's missed 3 of the 5 games. Coincidence or cause and effect that in the 3 games that he's been suspended for on 2 different suspensions, they've lost 2 of those 3.
Oh, I don't think there's a coincidence at all. I mean, and I don't blame Rapid City for trying to get him suspended in that case because of that. You know, I mean, they'd be foolish not to say, hey, you know, take a look at it. And you know, okay, maybe the league suspends and maybe they don't. If they don't, maybe you put the thought in Brent's head, you know, you might want to relax a little bit and you know, think a bit, half a second before next time, and maybe that's all the difference it takes to set somebody free for a goal. You know, I mean, there's all kinds of mind games going on in this.
On the good side, Henley will be making the trip up to Rapid City, so they add the best plus-minus defenseman in the league this season. But one of the most valuable players in the Komets will not be making the trip. Talk about the Brett Smith situation.
Brett came out of last night's game, I think in the third period. Nobody noticed when he came out, and they weren't real talkative afterwards. But I was told by some Komets management people that Brett, he did not make the trip to South Dakota. He could, knowing Brett, he'll play in a Game 7 if there is one. But he was in no condition to make the 40-hour bus ride back and forth with his sore neck and everything.
What does that mean to the Komets? Because here's a guy, he's not a physically imposing guy, but he's willing to stick his neck out there.
No pun intended.
I actually did not mean to intend that.
You walked into that one.
I know. But he'll stick his neck in there, stick his head in there, and score some of those tough goals. That's what you need in the playoffs, and he's got that mentality, and also is a former champion, knows what it takes. What is that going to do to affect the Game 6 up there in Rapid City?
I think this is a great opportunity for 2 of Brett's closest friends to step up, Bobby Chaumont and Jamie Milam. Bobby's got 1 goal in the series, and Jamie's got no points, which is just amazing. It's time for those two to step up and really do something. And if they do, the Komets will be fine. If they don't, we're coming back for Game 7.
Yeah, it's weird to see Milam not be much of a factor, especially when you're talking about power play, because this guy, you know, when we were talking about the votes for who we thought should win some of the end of the year awards, I thought he was the unsung hero of this team. Really good offensive defenseman. So it's been kind of odd. Also,
if you're Rapid City, who's the first guy you take out? You know, you go after him.
Smith.
I mean, no, you go after Milam
to make him a non-factor.
Sure.
You're talking about,
and they have. I mean, they've hit him all the time, and Les Rainey's gone after him a few times. I mean, legitimately so. I mean, that's what you do.
Talking about Les Rainey, at the beginning of the series, you said one of the biggest keys was to not let him get in the Komets' heads and affect them and have them, you know, because it's always the second guy, it seems like, that gets penalized. They've done a pretty good job of that.
They've done a great job with that. David Steranki's been amazing going, and that was one of my keys to the whole series was David Steranki versus Les Rainey, and David's been amazing. He's just laughed at him, and then so Les has gone after other guys. He's given up on Steranki, figuring he might be a weak link, and he's gone after other guys.
I also have to give it up to Kaylee Schrock for a really good fight we saw on Wednesday night. He was giving up about 3 inches and about 30-40 pounds, and man, he went toe to toe.
And then he came back yesterday and with Scott Ray, and boy, he put him down. I mean, there were some really good fights yesterday.
Yeah, and you got to give it up to Kaylee because he does often give up a lot of weight and a lot of height. But as was voted in the end of the year survey, he's one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the CHL.
Yeah, he's just nuts. I mean, in a good way. You know, I mean, he's just nuts.
He's got that Snyder toughness that they're known for out there.
Yeah, okay.
I was going to say Snyder.
I'd say he's probably tougher than anybody else at Snyder right now, that's for sure.
Well, you know we love Kaylee, and we were happy that he joined us live before the game on Wednesday. He's a great guy, and has been awesome. As far as what it means to Fort Wayne.
But he's had some controversy in this series, too. I mean, he got clipped at the end of Game 4, or was it Game 3? Game 3.
Game 3 with that empty netter.
Yeah, and he ran into one of his teammates, and then he changed directions and collided with Conrad Reeder, and Reeder got fined, and Kaylee got the Best Acting Award for 2012, and he kind of blew it, though, when he went from the locker room, from the bench to the locker room when he kind of started dancing because he was so happy.
Was that dancing, or did he just get his skate caught and it was like a hop, skip, and a jump?
No, I think it was dancing.
Well,
so
he should get an Oscar.
Which really was, the league saw it. I mean, they're not stupid. They know what's going on.
Is that why Reeder didn't get more than a fine?
More than a fine.
All right, but as far as Game 6 goes, talk about your keys, because the Komets, just based on travel, they don't want to come back. They want to end it in Rapid City.
The entire key to this series, keeping it in the other guy's end. And keep it out of your own end. And the Komets didn't do that yesterday. They didn't do as good a job of getting rid of the puck in the defensive end as soon as they got it. They were all looking at their feet. Okay, now look up who's open. No, you got to know where you're going with it before you get it. And they didn't do that, which gave Rapid City time to be more aggressive on their forecheck. And they had more time to be more aggressive when they did get the puck to go into the net and creating penalties. Komets need to do that, and they need to keep it in the other end. That's all it is. This whole series is about keeping it in the other team's end.
Is that harder to do at a place like Rapid City? I mean, Fort Wayne, when we talk about playoff ice, has big ice, so that works to their advantage speed-wise. Is it tougher to do in a place like Rapid City? How does their ice compare to Fort Wayne's ice? It's got to be a little bit smaller.
It's a little bit smaller in the corners and behind the net, but the one advantage that Rapid City has the best ice skating surface in the league, and the players really like it. And what's the Komets' big advantage in this series? Their speed. It really shows up there almost more than it shows up in Fort Wayne.
So really it's not that big of an advantage because the surface is so good, it doesn't matter how big it is.
And it's like I said after Game 3, it doesn't matter where these teams play. It's going to be a one-goal decision or an empty net goal or something. I mean, it's going to be tight. It's just, it doesn't really matter where they play.
Final question, your feelings on Game 6. What do the Komets have to do to be successful? What do you anticipate the final score being? And are we going to be having a Game 7 here in Fort Wayne on Thursday night?
I think the biggest problem for the Komets yesterday is that they let Rapid City goaltender Tim Boron get his confidence back. And they also let the Rapid City forward line of Reeder and Schultz and those guys, they let them get to Nick a little bit. Now, Nick, could he have made another save too? Sure, but I mean, and I thought he played really well. I'm not criticizing Nick at all.
It was a 6-minute period where he just did not play well.
Right. I mean, and the defense didn't play well in front of him at all. and he's been great the whole series. But I mean, these two goaltenders are both this good where they can steal a game. That's what's going to determine Game 6. Can Nick steal the game, or can Tim Boron steal the game? I think it's going to be another 2-1, 3-2 game. Might even be the first overtime game of the series. And my hunch is we're coming back for Game 7, which is what I said at the start of the series. And I said each team would win one game on the opposing team's ice, and that's happened so far. So I'm going to stick with 7 games.
Yeah,
I think the Komets are going to win in 7.
Yeah, you really did call it. You said each team is going to win 1. If a team can win 2 on the opposing ice, that'll be the series, and that will be the series, as it turns out.
And it turns out that because the Komets won the 1 game in Rapid City, that meant Rapid City has to win 2 games in Fort Wayne. And I'm not sure that they can do that.
Well, let's hope they cannot, and we'll definitely see if the series does progress to Game 7. Hopefully we'll get it done in Game 6.
I think tomorrow's the best game of the series, though. I mean, I think it's the best, closest, most intense game of the series, because Game 7s usually don't turn out that way.
Yeah, you mentioned a lack of urgency on both sides on Sunday.
It'll be all out for tomorrow.
They will have it tomorrow night in Rapid City, and it should be very interesting. Of course, we'll have you covered here on Wayne TV. Nobody has you covered like Blake in the newspaper. Does a great job. Check out Tailing the Komets. Live game blog.
Live game blog tomorrow night.
All right, so all your action covered by Blake Sebring of the News Sentinel. I'm Glenn, and hopefully we are talking about the Turner Conference Finals next Monday when we join you again. Thanks a bunch.